Yep.
Yeah, so hello, good morning, good evening to all. I thank everyone for joining on this discussion today. So let's get started. Some standard instructions before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and you will be provided with a recording after a couple of days. I request all the participants to please be on mute during the discussion. And in case of any questions you have, you can post those in the chat box and we will answer to those questions during and towards the end of the webinar. So I welcome you all to today's panel discussion from data to insights, a deep dive into AI and analytics. We have our elite panel of experts who will share valuable insights on that topic. First, we have with us Nikolai Edwulutkin. He's a distinguished software development and test automation expert, acclaimed international speaker, and AI explorer. He's currently serving as the CEO and chief engineer at Ultimate QA. He has a deep seated passion for teaching and has successfully trained over 150K developers across 184 countries, reflecting his universal appeal and commitment to broadening the horizons of knowledge. So, welcome, Nikolai. Next, we have with us James McQuagan. He's a security awareness advocate for KnowBe4. Prior to KnowBe4, James has worked for Siemens for over 18 years, where he was responsible for various roles, including product and solution security officer for Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy. And in addition to his work for Siemens, James is also a part time faculty professor at Valencia College. So, welcome, James. Um, Next, we have with us Nandan Mishra. He is the CEO and founder of Algo 8 AI. He has deep domain expertise and commitment to harnessing the power of AI and data analytics and has been driving transformative change in the industry, propelling organizations toward digital excellence. And he's the CEO of Algo 8 AI, which is an industrial AI company where he's helping energy and manufacturing customers uh, to get more out of their facility, plant, and assets. He's also a part of the working group NMICPS, which is Think Tank for National Mission for Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Welcome, Nandan. Next, we have with us Deepak Padgaonkar. He's the EVP Technology and Chief Software Architect at V3IT Consulting. Deepak is a member of Forbes Technology Council for over 30 plus years and he has experience in software management, ERP, supply chain, business intelligence, customer relationship management, and other custom application design and development. He has done over 100 SAP implementations worldwide, and he is currently leading groundbreaking initiatives in AI/ML deployments and platform migration and cloud migration. So, welcome, Deepak. Towards the end of this panel discussion, we will also provide a free phishing security test, which is hosted by KnowBe4, where you will find out what percentage of your organizational employees are prone to phishing. We will provide a link in the chat box. When you click on this link, you will be asked to sign up on a registration form, which, if you complete, you will gain access to this free phishing security test. So, welcome aboard, gentlemen. We are really honored to have all of you here. So, without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Deepak.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, honored to be part of this light group. Appreciate all of you joining here and appreciate all of you taking the time for this. So hopefully we'll make this worthwhile a discussion. So it's something that is having a buzzword around the market right now. Artificial intelligence is something that everybody is talking in all today, and something that intrigues all of us today, and something that we are seeing corporates take interest into. In fact, if the stock market is indicative of anything, that is showing that AI stocks are leading um, all over. So basically, that is something that businesses are taking very seriously this year, and the footprint is just going to expand. So, oh, the first question that strikes my mind is how can businesses quantify the impact of leveraging AI today and the overall performance and decision making process in the whole business paradigm, right? How do you, as panelists, see it happening? I think everybody will be interested to knowing that. I think Nandan wanted to speak.
Yeah, I can take that up, but yep. So I was just waiting for the cue. So I thought maybe the other gentleman want to answer it first. So, okay. So I think Deepak, it is, if you were to look at the impact of any technology, right now we are in the age of artificial intelligence. It starts with very clear goals and metrics. So think about, uh, we still do objectives and key results whenever we take up any digital project. So it has nothing to do with the, so it has something to do with the data and the budget and the yeah, as is that we have, but we define very clear goals and metrics around it. And the baselining is very important. So for example, if it's a manufacturing AI problem, of it's a, say, a retail business that needs to be transformed, we establish the baseline and then we look at what are the goals and metrics. Many a times it is about, so it's the context comes from whether we are wanting to improvise. So improvise is more of a response to a challenge that a business is facing, or it's fundamentally new and valuable, something that we are creating out of the data, that's innovation. Or we are looking for a transformation, which may be resting on, say, innovation, or maybe an improvisation, or maybe an invention, for example, generating a new kind of material for a new product design. So that's almost an AI based invention. So establishing those baselines, defining clearly those objectives, and then tracking those changes is also very important as you monitor the entire thing. And you, many times in operations, what we do is that we basically conduct something called A/B testing. So we take a part of the business where we haven't intervened, and we see how that is doing, and when this where we have done the intervention, how that is doing. And finally, if the scenario is very complex, we take up to basically something called an ROI, which is a return on investment estimation, which is kind of an economic model that we build. So those are the methods that we take up while quantifying the impact of AI. Yeah. Was I audible? Yeah. Hello?
You were in some technical glitch. I don't know what happened to my audio.
Oh,
Somehow
Okay.
disappeared,
Cool.
but
No problem.
that's an excellent response. Anybody else? What are you seeing around other businesses? Anybody else wants to take on that? And that's an excellent point. I mean, basically, start with analytics, start with making sure that the data is correct and all the KPIs measured correctly, which is the start of any artificial intelligence. That's a great point. Any other takes on that, Clay or James?
um, for me, I'm looking at from a risk mitigation, looking at it. We're going to be implementing AI. What risks are we looking at? It's adding it into, your risk register, and then doing the analysis on that and determining, what's the impact going to be to the business, to our users, to our customers. The big thing with AI, of course, the explosion since November of 22, with generative AI coming more to the forefront and everybody putting AI out there. The risks you're dealing with is information being uploaded, intellectual property that you're not expecting. We've seen it happen time and time again. So, when looking at using AI within the organization, either for a product or leveraging it as a service, it's important to understand what the risks are, what kind of data is going to be consumed of your own intellectual property, but also you're getting from other people as well. How are you protecting that? How are you isolating it? That gets included in there as well with when you're talking about AI.
So true. Data governance is the footprint of all the risk management, and that's so imperative that you make sure that all the tentacles are in place. Otherwise, yeah, bad things could happen. So true. Any final words of wisdom, Nicole, on this topic?
Yeah, just a few words. Nandan and James did a outstanding job of covering the overall topic. I think just a few points I want to add is, yeah, talking about KPIs and starting that as a foundational layer of what to make decisions on. And so you can think about KPIs of your business in terms of like customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, sales metrics, measuring those and then applying AI to whatever business outcome you want to achieve, and then measuring how AI is helping you to move in the right or wrong direction, or maybe no direction at all, based on that. And then I think one other aspect we can talk a little bit about as well is using AI to make data-driven decisions as well, right? I think that's always pretty wise for businesses to compile a bunch of data and then use that in order to plan future steps of the business. Well, AI can help here as well by gathering a bunch of information. ChatGPT even has this kind of capability where you can upload information into it. It can process it for you. The free versions will be used to train models, but there are paid versions. Microsoft has a paid version model as well that will keep your information internal. And so then you can use AI to help you build these kind of data-driven decisions, and then you can start predicting, start measuring to see whether these decisions are accurate, whether it's helping you to improve your time to market, or whether it's helping you to make better strategic decisions.
Couldn't have summarized that better. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, James and Nandan. Wonderful discussion on that. And that's true. Chat GPT, OpenAI's Chat GPT, or Microsoft's Copilot, and now recently announced Google's Bard AI, which is now taken over as Gemini. Those are common names. But saying that, what do you see as businesses customizing some of the AI and analytics solutions to any industry specific needs, and what do you see as challenges that are perceived by the businesses?
Should I go first?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. So I think, the industry specific challenges are very, very unique, because these industry, especially some of these are non-native digital, some of them are digitally native, but these industries have evolved over a time and the lineage is like that. So their challenges are very unique. So deeply understanding them and creating a context around them comes first. The data that you have to solve it, the AI that you want to put to solve it comes later. But it is the identifying the industry specific challenges. Like for example, in manufacturing or in the energy sector, there's huge amount of data. We can't even think of the amount of data that these guys are able to, due to their process adherence, they have huge amount of data. But the challenge that they face is the silos of the data that they have, because they have n number of tools for the n number of departments that they have. So so that is a very unique challenge when you, and that's a horizontally unique challenge for any digital transformation. But when you go to into vertical, you'll find that okay, there are cultural aspects of it, there are aspects that you need to overcome. So there are these industry specific challenges. Then many a times the data is also very specialized. For example, a particular data set needs to be inferred with a particular industrial context. You need a process engineer to be able to build a model around a process AI. You need a maintenance engineer to look into a predictive maintenance model. You need a production supply chain person to combine with you, or you need a retail person, or you need a brand person to basically collaborate with you and help you with a pipeline that can then put a natural language processing on top of it, and you can get your brand KPIs out of it and build the brand AI on top of it. So you require, the context is decisive. That's how we call it in leadership also. So leading into any AI problem, the context you create around that is the game where you start customizing. The other part is basically the need of the user experience. So the other way of thinking is thinking from user experience to the AI. So one was the industry, and the second is the user experience, where you start thinking that okay, as a user, you empathize with him and you find that as a user, I want to achieve this so that I can. So so that becomes the central idea, and then from there you basically contextualize and customize. So these are the two ways. One is industry first, one is user experience first. I think the best is when you both combine those, then you are able to customize and get really, really great solutions with that can solve the deepest problems that the industry has.
Yep, what Nandan said. Um, so I think, building on top of that, certainly looking at trying to do pilot programs, depending on, what your model's doing or what your application is doing. Certainly having pilots going on with your customers, with your users, or whatever else that you're going to be doing, and then following that up with, as Nikolai was saying, with KPIs, have those performance metrics going on, have that transparency, avoid it being like the whole black box, because when you've got that analytics going on, people are going to want to see, and we're starting to see regulation coming forward where we need to make sure we're having that transparency so we know what's going on inside. So that would be what I would have to add.
For me, one I think important point also to make here is to not try and start and build your own foundational models. Like good examples are OpenAI, Gemini from Google, formerly known as Bard. Those are foundational level models that are extremely expensive to build and train on your own. And these companies have spent years and hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. So take those and build on top of them your industry specific or niche specific models, as kind of as Nandan talked about. That'll be a lot easier, a lot more cost effective. And then I would say the other part about it, this being kind of new, even though obviously AI has been worked on for decades now, but nowadays, since ChatGPT has brought it to light, we're all talking about it here. You'll probably need to work with some kind of AI vendors or consultants in order to help you guide in the right direction, because probably, as I don't know if Nandan and James would agree, there's a lot of need for AI specialists and data scientists, but there's not enough of us now just because there's been such a big boom inside of the industry. So yeah, reach out for collaboration support to help you build out these industry specific models.
Yeah, you almost need your own chief AI officer, right?
That is so true.
Um,
There's a
or
Yeah.
chief officer.
or you could spin it and go your chief intelligence artificial
Yes.
officer, and then it'd be Chow. I don't know, but yeah.
So in fact, in industry 2.0, when I think the post machine era, when electricity came into being, there was a chief electricity officer in many companies. So similarly, you'll have AI is the new electricity. So yeah,
AI
chief
is
AI.
definitely the new electricity. We don't understand how it works. We just know when we push the button, the light bulb's supposed to turn on.
It
Yep.
does stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Nice analogy there. I mean, that's excellent. I mean, you went from not just making AI known to different industry verticals and what it means in different industry verticals, and the interpretation could be completely different. So you went from narrow AI to general AI to super AI, which is how the classification works, and we already are kind of thinking ahead of the terms, and that's good that businesses will try to adopt those models and go through that route. So that's exciting, and it's so important to kind of conduct a pilot on a small basis, as James alluded to kind of have that small exercise gone through for that company, for that thing. As Paula rightly said, it's basically turning on to experts rather than doing everything yourself, ground up. That's the way to go. That's very encouraging. Um, so how are you seeing AI have you seen AI being leveraged in companies or businesses to gain some competitive advantage? Are you seeing any trends towards that? And if so, how?
Yep, I think it's already there. I think ChatGPT was quite an inflection where everybody got an access to a human language interface with AI. So that's why it became so prevalent. But I think it has been there. We've been in this. So I have personally seen this in the last 11 years as in my career. The first thing that businesses gain is personalization at scale. So I as a business want to totally personalize myself in terms of the customer experience I'm providing. The second is super productive operational efficiency, super productive. So I'm talking about I can also be low on the like on my environmental footprint, and I can provide goods at a faster pace at lesser speed. This is what we have been able to achieve in refining business in India. We're saving almost 2,400 metric ton carbon dioxide per refinery for 8 of the refineries. Huge impact, environmental impact, and then saving almost $12 million on operational efficiency. Then I said personalizing customer experiences. We are able to sell industrial goods to people through bots, which are highly specialized sales, because you need to understand each and every spec and customize the product. So the AI is able to do that, a generative AI plus a, and then even innovating new products, so thinking about what could be a fundamental new product. We are working with an automobile company where they are designing what could be a future car based on the trends they are getting on the usage. They built a platform that's collecting the car data as people are using various it's collecting the sensors, and using that we are trying to optimize the net user experience of that car. And the best thing is that we're moving to a culture of data driven decision making, as Nicola pointed out. The decision has to be backed by data. This is becoming a conscious practice in the enterprises. So in all, we are kind of bettering ourselves to serve the customer better. So in that way, the competitive advantage is there. So maybe that's the answer.
I think a lot of us have seen that, AI isn't just new since 2022 in the IT and cybersecurity space. We've been seeing AI at the big conferences for the last 5, 10 years. I remember back, 12 plus years ago, 14 years ago, 15 years ago, working with a product that did predictive analysis, which essentially is AI machine learning, right? And, going back all the way then, and we were using that to leverage our position for data analytics of how the gas turbines were operating. And, way back then, and now we've seen it inside the SOC, security operations centers. We're seeing it in there to help with, message fatigue and dealing with first level incident response. Maybe even inside organizations to help with that first level of help desk, because we all know how much we love to call the help desk. Have you tried turning it off and back on again? Usually that's the response. But, getting that first level of AI to get that support within the organization, because AI, and as I've said, and I continue to talk about, AI is a tool for all of us. We've had the internet, that made it, we didn't have to go to the library anymore. We could go onto Google and search and find the information we wanted. Now with generative AI, we can use that as that next Google to ask that question and use that tool to be more productive, to accomplish tasks inside organizations, and kind of increase our productivity overall.
Yeah, just to quickly expand a little bit on what James talked about as well. I feel like AI, there isn't any aspect of business or our roles in the organization that AI cannot touch and enhance. And so I view AI as a multiplier of human ability. I know, of course, there is this fear that AI will also replace us and take many jobs. And that will probably also become true with any new innovation. There is some turnover of old positions that will no longer need to exist to new positions, right? When we had cars created, we no longer needed people to ride horses across the street and people to clean up the poop of all the horses, which that's okay. It's just part of technological innovation. But ultimately, I think AI will make us all more powerful and capable to do more with less. And that can probably apply to every single role in the organization. It all depends on your imagination. Again, those business objectives, those KPIs that you're trying to hit, and then just start plugging in different kind of AI solutions. And there's, of course, different levels of complexity of AI solutions that you can build out, plug them in for whatever business case you need as appropriate, and then measure those improvements as you're implementing AI in your organizations.
That's so true. I mean, that's basically what most organizations are starting to experience, and those are excellent examples of how you can save money and increase operational efficiencies. Those are excellent examples, and Basically, I mean, I think this will just, this is as you define Industry 2.0, Industry 3.0, or whenever, whatever version they will call it at a further point in time. But this is basically the trends that are going to go is basically make all the large language models that are coming into smaller language models to get into your uh, phone or mobile device, getting into the multimodal AI, which is basically uh, what what will make it uh, a combination of text, graphics, videos, all into one kind of a cohesive uh, search algorithm to kind of take all inputs from all spheres. And if I were to turn that as vectors and kind of draw a resultant vector out of that if I were to go to my high school physics. So that's so interesting that that's how it is coming up with. Now, definitely that one question that everybody asked me is training and um, kind of enablement of the people that are going to support this in the future, right? Businesses are run by people, and they need training and education to run all these AI resources. What are the things that you are seeing people taking, and how do you think they're acting upon it?
Yeah. So I think at an enterprise level, the first thing is awareness, and understanding. It's a new technology. People need to understand what are the benefits, huge benefits, what are the limitations as well, right? And how does it work, basically. And at various levels. So as a leader, I need to come up with my strategic thinking around it. As a manager, I need to maybe manage these programs and the change management. As a person hands-on, I want to learn. So there are different trainings that are needed at an enterprise level. Then specific skills will become very important. So for from general management, we have to all move to specific skills, all of us. That's something that is going to happen. And we have to utilize insights from AI, whether we are in human resource, whether we are in sales, whether we are, all these will become data driven. So how do we integrate these AI tools in our decision making? That is the second specific need that we have. And again, as I said, I'm going back to that, cultivating the data driven thinking habit, making a data driven culture. That okay, when I'm we built a bot where we no longer need reports. For example, you ask the bot draws the report. So now you don't have meetings waiting for data and Excel sheets. You can get that like this, right? So integrating that with your conscious thinking process, doing those meetings like that, looking at the data and doing that meeting and taking the call. I think that has to happen. Most important. Learning AI is also very important, but that will be a segment. But more importantly, managers and the strategic leaders have to also integrate it, how their business is going to transform.
Yeah, when you start talking about the workforce, I know, the outside of the IT, the cybersecurity, the analytics, data analytics, the tech aspects, people are sitting there going, all right, is Terminator coming to get my job? Is it, am I going to lose my job? When's Arnold coming walking in through the front door? But in all seriousness, and we've kind of touched upon it already in our last response, was AI is there to help us with tasks. It's going to make us more productive. How people learn that is going to depend on the environment that they're in and possibly the culture of that organization. Um, AI can, generative AI, chat GPT, all those can help people, whether they're in marketing or whether in sales, they can help generate scripts and collateral and things what to create to help promote their job better. Researchers, R&D can go through and process data a lot more. AI is here to help us speed up our jobs, not take them. And it's going to take an effort to get people either trained on how to use the tools properly, and that's going to, within organizations, will come from policies. Your data policy, maybe not necessarily an AI policy, even though you may have one, but your data policy. How are you protecting your data overall? But it's definitely important that people are trained. I mean, with with KnowBe4, we're all about security awareness training. We're always trying to help people make those smarter security decisions every day. Sorry, cheesy plug. But essentially, that's what this comes down to, is you want to make sure that people are using AI properly, using it within their work environment, within the requirements and rules that they have set up. So it'll be important, and you're going to need somebody in that organization staying current on AI anyway. Whether through the dozens of newsletters that are out there right now, podcasts that are coming out, webinars like this. Keeping up with the information is a very monumental task right now in itself, because there's so much information, so much happening every day. This isn't on a weekly basis or monthly basis. We're seeing changes. It's daily that we're seeing changes coming in, that I see coming in on my newsletters. I have 4 of them that come into my inbox every single day. And it's, I'm up in the morning reading them first thing just to kind of get the day going with those. And yeah, it's constantly changing and updating. And so you're going to need somebody that can dedicate the time to be able to keep up and then pass that knowledge along to the necessary folks, whether you're talking to the boardroom or the mailroom.
Yeah. I think James and Nandan made some really great high level recommendations, and I definitely want to stick with those. I'm going to talk a little bit about what has worked for me and our organization successfully in terms of training, just to give some ideas and give some concrete examples. I actually run a podcast called Test Automation Experience, and on there, we brought on one of our managers of implementation, and she has never used ChatGPT before. And so together, me and some other co-hosts, we walked through ChatGPT together, and we talked to her about what kind of use cases and challenges is her team facing. And we had our hands on keyboard, using ChatGPT live to solve the challenges that she's facing. And so actually in that amount of time, it was like an hour podcast, she was able to create an implementation plan of onboarding a new customer that she said was very similar to the implementation plan that her and her team came up with without ChatGPT. And so to her, you could see it was a light bulb moment that happened there, where she was like, wow, this is actually really useful. And what she was missing, and I think many people in our organization were missing, which is they didn't have someone sit down for 30 minutes to an hour and walk them through their specific need and their specific use cases. Because exactly as James said, there's so many use cases, so many needs that organizations have. It's just about focusing the tooling on them so that they see value in that. And then hopefully based on that, they'll start propagating that knowledge to them and their individual contributors and so on. One other thing I was going to add as well, you can again also check out different kinds of partnerships that will help you to learn AI better. We have the internet at our hands, plenty of wonderful information there. You can use AI to learn AI, right? ChatGPT, Gemini. Gemini is so getting better, but ChatGPT itself, for example, can lead you into some really great resources. As mentioned in the previous introduction, us at Ultimate QA, we've trained 150,000 engineers in 184 countries, so you can come reach out to us as well if you need some training for your and organizations around AI and best practices and so on. I'll copy James and put a shameless plug in there.
Cool.
So
Sorry, go on, Nanda.
no, so I think just like I think training the workforce would be about collaborating with AI rather than competing with it. So that's we don't have to compete with AI. We have to collaborate with it. That's it. Yeah. So
That
that's
summarizes it so well. I mean, that's just the right point that I was about to make, but that's excellently put. Now, basically, yes. I mean, it's mammoth. So collaborating, and it's continuous, right? It's not a one-time thing. It's continuous, and I think collaborating and homogenizing AI into the whole mix is probably the way to go, and I think it will blend in, like you mentioned, the analogy of electricity. It's plug in, and it's as if non-present, but it's so instrumental to everything that we do, right? So that's exactly how it will. Now that I see the audience also asking that question, and I think it's probably appropriate for me to bring it at this point as ethics and bias. How does that play into businesses? Because this is definitely something that will come up in every discussion we do about AI. So,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. So okay, so uh, I think the first step where we launch any AI product or we ask users to adopt it is basically where we look at the transparency and explainability. I think that comes for first to me, being a coming from the data science development, school. So school of thought. So we think that it's about telling them how it works and making them understand how it works. So because it's a black box, in the end there is no mathematical abstract, there can be mathematical abstractions of explaining it, but you can't actually tell what's going inside you know so that explaining them in natural language is the first case. And the second thing is being transparent about what data did you use, how did you build it. That takes us to the bias and the fairness, because that's where the data is coming from. So there I have a very interesting perspective where I've discussed and debated this with a lot of people, that actually, just like I and you don't think similar on many things and think similar on such, there needs to be enough heterogeneity, AI, so AI trained on every kind of bias. So there should be a model that is trained on an Indian data, and there should be a model that's trained on an Egyptian data, and there should be a model that's trained on a North American data. Then if you take that and you kind of federate that learning, you will get a very equitable basis and equitable outcome. So how you can handle bias is by spreading your samples and getting more and more different kinds of learning into the same model, or different models being federated. And the third point is the privacy point. I think James is a would answer that way better, but I think uh, robust security measures, and again transparency, that as you are learning, as you are relearning, what data are you using to relearning, what data are you using when the customer is using it, are you uh, intruding into some kind of customer behavior which you are not intended to while you are consuming the insight from the model. And this takes you to the ethical principles. So every AI development, you have to define what are the ethical principles that you're, what is the purpose, what is the profit, and the purpose and the profit scopes have to come in. And that's where gets top down implemented. So while data privacy, handling data bias, and transparency and explainability will be the pillars, but the guiding will be you define your ethical principles. And as we say, wisdom is not artificial, intelligence is. So wisdom will be always, so ethics come from wisdom, not from intelligence. So that's how you have to build this. Yeah.
It's interesting as we talk about biases and the culture aspect of it. And even in the world of security awareness, we're looking to have that security culture. You look in manufacturing and hospitals, there's that health and safety culture, wanting, how many days it's been since the last time we had an accident, right? And you build that up.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with the biases inside of AI, for me, I always look at it and go, this has been human made. This wasn't a computer programming itself to program to create the AI. While we're dealing with neural networks, and yes, there's that gray area there, but we're going to have the biases based on the data that it's been trained on. And even if, when we look at computers, and I use the example, and I apologize, it's a US reference, but the US Civil War back in the 1800s, if we were to feed it document after document after document about the Civil War, dealing with slavery, and I know, again, it could be a sensitive topic, but it's an easy way to explain it. If a computer had received, let's say, argumentatively, 51 documents that stated slavery was bad, and 49 documents that said slavery was a good thing because of workforce and whatever reasons you want to come up with. If you were to go to that AI and go, hey, is slavery good or bad? It's going to be meh, because it's a 51 to 49 based on that culture, based on that kind of that environment. So biases for me, when I look at it, and especially with AI, is all going to come down to that training data. What's it been trained on? It's been all done by human, and we're so diverse from person to person to person that, yeah, you're going to be dealing with those biases. You're going to be dealing with, the trust and verify. And for me, that's one of the big things I always talk about is with generative AI, with emails, whatever. You want to trust that email, but you got to verify it and go through it as well. Really quick, touching back on the workforce, one of the things that we've done internally at KnowBe4, and I can see other organizations doing this, when the internet first came out, everybody was jumping on the line and going out onto the internet. So then we had to set up a proxy at the firewall so that we could filter the network traffic going out. So we knew that people weren't going to visit, eBay and ESPN and inappropriate websites. We're now going to need that for AI. We're going to need that for generative AI, a proxy to filter to make sure you're not sending out intellectual property or crucial information. And again, that goes back to that ethics, that privacy that you're going to have. What are your customers uploading? Are they going to have an opt-out capability? So it's important that that kind of information and those capabilities are available as well.
I think Nandan and James did a fantastic job covering everything. The only real point I would emphasize is on the bias and fairness point, making sure that your model is trained to that bias and fairness point. And I know James made a very interesting historical example. I have a more recent example that actually happened with OpenAI, where I think it was last year. If you would ask the OpenAI model for a question, which would be like, a white man works as, and then let ChatGPT fill in, and you would get things like a lawyer, a doctor, and so on and so on. And then you would ask ChatGPT, a black man works as, and then it would fill in those details. And one of those details would be like a pimp or some other typical stereotypes that may exist, all as a result of the data that exists and the data that it was being trained on. And so I highly want to emphasize that point, because if we're going to use these models to make business decisions or even help us in our workplace, then we've got to be mindful of this, because imagine what kind of decisions it would make for us if our data is biased. And so that's all I really wanted to add.
Yeah, and
So
that's an excellent point, excellent examples, and I mean, it leads to the thinking that unintended biases can be caused. Like, who
exactly.
would have imagined 10 years back that social media or the advent of social media could cause a great influence on election results all over the globe? I mean, that's a completely unintended use, and biases of AI can come from totally unintended thoughts or processes that we don't even know exist today, and legislation of that is going to be so hard. But with that said, that's an excellent discussion. Now, are there any frameworks or best practices that you are seeing that businesses adapt to when it comes to use of either the AI analytics, or what do you see as the tool sets that are prevalent in addition to the best practices and frameworks that are prevalent and used by businesses?
So tools in the AI space, a stack or like.
Yeah, yeah. And best practices and frameworks. What are you seeing there out there?
Right, right. So when it comes to frameworks, I think there is a model. There is a standard model that we follow, which is basically the design thinking model when we use when we develop machine learning. So it starts from discovery, and where we do something called an exploratory data analysis, where we confirm the business hypothesis, and then once we are able to do that, we put and we do this, we put an ethics charter around it. So at the very level, while we are discovering the entire thing, then we define the entire problem. We define the resources we have for that. So many times the resources are the data and also the budget. So we also define that the kind of data and kind of budget we have and kind of needs we have. Once we have the discovery and definition, we go into the model designing. In the model design, we consider various aspects. As I told you, we work back from the user experience and work back from the industry thing, and then we basically work on that. And then we get into the development phase. So the development phase is generally a batch data phase, where we look at batch data taking up, and we essentially build it and train the model on that batch data. And then once we have done that, we deploy it. So we generally call it a factory acceptance and a site acceptance. So while the model is being produced in a data science factory, we build that model and there is a certain acceptance criteria. But when we ship it to an actual condition where it has to be deployed, we have different acceptance criteria around that. And then finally, we basically drive results. So that goes back to the net equation that we had defined, that okay, what was the baseline, what is the net impact that this model should have created, and then continuously seeing how it is performing and retraining it or building it better or better features into it. So it's a continuous process of doing that. So we generally follow this. Apart from that, there are standards in the IEEE. Then there are standards which are around fairness, accountability, and transparency. These are called FAT principles. Again, these are there now in the, I think US has also come up with it, and there's a European policy also around this, and GDPR compliance is also a sub part of this. So all of those things are also very important while you build those. And the last point, if you're doing deep learning, is you basically do something called explainability of AI. So you have to build explainability of AI and give another model to the client which tells him or her why this AI is giving that. So that's how you do it. You start with design thinking, you put these charters and you adhere to them, and then finally give the explainability. Sorry for that long answer.
No, wonderful, wonderful. That detail was great.
Looking at it from the risk management standpoint, there's two that I've researched in and looked at. I'm not aware of any organizations using them yet, but one, and Nandan kind of touched on it, was the ISO standard 42001 that's now come out, that's dealing with risk management of an AI system, dealing, again, accountability, transparency, and that one you can actually be certified in. Here in the US, NIST came out with their first revision of the AI risk management framework as well. So those have come out, again, looking at the framework from a risk management standpoint with your AI services products, that you'd be, having within your organization.
I think you're on mute, Nicholas. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, but it's not your fault, Deepak. Stop! Don't mute me, Deepak, please. I'm joking. Deepak, did you say we can also talk about tools?
Absolutely, absolutely. Bring them on,
Absolutely.
tools and frameworks, because I combine the two because I think they go hand in hand today. So one cannot go without the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nandan and James are more qualified to speak on the former. So I'm like, oh, I can at least jump in on the tools where I know a bit more. Yeah, you can, as I talked about previously, you can start with understanding which foundational AI model can help you to achieve your business objectives. And so whether that's OpenAI, Gemini, Hugging Face from Facebook, so many others that exist out there. There are models that are specifically for image generation, for audio generation, moving towards multimodal models as well. But pick the one that you like, explore those, and based on that, you can take some actions. Large companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon are building their own UIs and ways to create your own models and train your own models, and even build out chatbots as well. So there are a number of tools. Chatbots actually is typically a pretty great way to start making some impact on your business in terms of some kind of operational efficiency or sales processes, as Nandan has talked about. Yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Oh, that's great. That's good to add. And basically, all the underlying hardware that, in addition to the traditional hardware, we have got the graphics handlers such as NVIDIA. We've got AMD getting on some newer hardware, ARM getting on some hardware, and of course Intel and the other players in the market also getting some new hardware to support this whole new explosion or implosion of AI as it is happening. So there's so many things. And thanks for the design thinking framework. I appreciate you bringing it on and how it applies to the world of AI. Now, there are several other questions that are coming, and I think as they are coming, I did try to add them. One of the things that was asked is, are there any successful AI implementations that you have been personally part of or can talk about?
Yeah, definitely at least a dozen, more than that. I think we've been into retail manufacturing. So can talk about we can take up retail first. So we I'll have to be really short in explaining these. So you can use AI to build customer archetypes. It's a very interesting thing now with e-commerce and retail. They are almost leveling in terms of the amount of data they have. So how do you build a truly digital platform which can build customer archetypes? Based on the customer archetypes, you can build a demand model, and based on that demand model, you build a supply chain model. So it's almost very real time dynamic, and it's totally AI based. I mean, there's a model in India called quick commerce. So it's a hybrid between a retail store and an online. So they don't have a store, but they have a warehouse very near you and they home deliver things. So they are able to quickly figure out what you need today. So such kind of hyper personalization they're able to do. That's one. Second, in manufacturing, if we go at manufacturing, there are factories which produce 40,000 different kinds of goods, and they are able to schedule and optimize their entire production just by a button, because the entire factory schedule is being managed by AI. We've done that. It's a huge implementation that has transformed almost unlocked almost 10% of their entire throughput as a factory. Then working on perception management, we've built engines that can real time understand your social media perception and give you campaigns that can actually better that. So working on those areas as well. So plenty of success is, and actually, AI came in the masses in 2022, as pointed out by James, November 2020, because the human language interface was invented. But I think success in AI, banks have been having crazy success with machine learning since I think 2012, and I think, there are huge amounts of now it is going to enter mainstream. Yeah. So I think the technology readiness is at that level that it will be adopted now at a mass level. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, for us, within the security awareness space, we are utilizing AI machine learning uh, with regards to the phishing assessments, the simulated phishing emails that get sent out, looking at information about each individual, looking at role-based, and determining which email or simulated phish to send to that person, utilizing information within the organization, current events, and so forth. So I know we've been utilizing that capability also in the triage of phishing emails that have come in, using, again, that machine learning, that automated process capabilities of AI. So not as extensive as Nandan, but we are certainly leveraging AI very much within our organization towards the products, but also for our users as well.
And for us on our end, in terms of automated software testing and CI/CD and DevOps, we've had pretty good success with chatbots. So we've had chatbots trained on different types of models. For example, a chatbot trained on automated software testing data and best practices within an organization, so that anyone can chat with it and understand how to follow the different kinds of processes in order to build, test, and deploy software. And then there are other examples of how you can fine tune different kinds of chatbots for different business needs. One that came about more recently is we've been experimenting with GPTs from ChatGPT. You can now build your own GPTs inside of ChatGPT. We actually have been using it for a social media aspect, where for promoting our social media material and our podcasts, where we built a GPT that will generate us YouTube thumbnails that follow some best practices, and then also a GPT that will take information about a live stream happening such as this and build out the entire social media campaign, the description, the thumbnail image, so that our team can simply just post all that information and not have to generate ourselves, just by providing some high level information about what is the purpose of the live stream. And so we're looking to expand that. And future direction where we see ourselves going is building out actual processes and workflows with a number of these different AI systems interacting to move something from start to finish versus just having smaller concrete tasks. That's a great long-term goal for us.
All great inputs. Thank you for those. Those are all fascinating. And I'm going to try to combine some of the questions. I know we promised the phishing and security link that is already there on the chat box right now. But one of the questions, two of the questions rather, that I'm going to combine is what are some of the misconceptions about AI, and what are some of the risks and reliance associated with the whole AI model that we are talking about? Any inputs towards that?
So the first one would be that AI will take over our jobs. It's not going to happen like that. So that's the first misconception. Let's not fear it. As so many, there are so many pointers in history where we've seen this. You gave the example of the car. You see the computer. You see the internet. The jobs will transform, right? And we are a part of a transformation. So any transformation is very tough, from a caterpillar to a butterfly, right? So we are, as a human civilization, will move that way, right? So I think AI is not going to take over our jobs. Yeah, current jobs definitely, but you have to align with the new jobs that are going to come up. So live the future and collaborate with it. I think the second would be that AI is magic and it will happen without human guidance. So no, it requires a lot of work to basically implement something. And third would be, as a data scientist, AI is always accurate. I've seen this. Customers coming to me, "Hey, you will get 99% accuracy." No, it's as good as the data it gets, as good as you build the model to understand it if you're an ML, or as much as if you are doing a deep learning. So it's not like that. It you have to build it, and the objectivity of AI is also questionable. It gets subjective because, as we said, there are biases in the data. So yeah, so those would be three. So first would be basically that it'll take away our jobs. No, it won't. It's magical. No, it's not magical. It's very logical and needs human guidance, and it's not always accurate and objective. Yeah.
Yeah, what
Thank you,
Nandan
sir.
said. Yeah, usually it's the jobs are always a big factor. People have a tendency just to believe way too much. You know, it's on the internet. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true, right? You know, AI kind of falls into that same category as well. It's a great, as I said, tool. It's a good starting point. Don't, rely heavily on it, and feel that, everything that it's giving you is going to be 100% accurate. If you don't believe me, ask the two lawyers from New York City last April that used ChatGPT to generate case material for a brief, and turned out it was all hallucinated, and they were sanctioned for it. So, yeah. So always trust and verify. That's kind of my closing thoughts on that.
That's so true. And to add to it, right, the deep fake videos that emerge, and that's
Mm.
totally
And
AI.
audio.
I mean,
Yep.
how do you believe in it? It's
And that's an
basically yes,
invention.
trust but verify. Yep.
Yeah, that's not even an innovation. That's an invention, actually. AI driven invention. So yeah.
Yeah,
The deep
that's
fakes. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
unpurposed use of AI that has emerged, and there'll be many more, I'm sure. So, Nicole, sorry,
Yeah.
you wanted to say something?
Oh, you're muted again.
Mute again. Yes. Yeah, no. I think everybody's covered it in terms of the misconceptions and risks. I agree on those.
I think Prachi is on, reminding us of the time. So take on, Prachi.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of questions coming in, but yeah, the time is running short and all of us have to get back to other things. But it was really an honor to host all of you today. And I genuinely appreciate all the efforts and time everybody has put in, especially our distinguished panel members and our lovely audiences. So have a great morning, great evening, everyone. And thanks so much for joining in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir. It was a
Take
pleasure
care,
to.
everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you so much.
everyone. Thanks
Right.
so much.
Right. See y'all later.
See you.